Tere, this is Estonian Business News reporting from city of Tallinn. This is bulletin number 49 and the title of this an important article is Does a startup need an accountant? 5 recommendations and 3 warnings. One entrepreneur decided to save a few hundred euros a month on an accountant. Unfortunately, it ended up with a tax liability of several thousand euros. Such choices are more common than you might think, so we are looking into whether or not a starting entrepreneur should do their own accounting. It only takes 20 minutes to start a business in Estonia, but that is just the beginning. Although accounting seems simple, issuing invoices and paying taxes, in reality there are many more complex nuances. Can a starting entrepreneur do it themselves, or is it wiser to involve a professional? When is it worth doing accounting yourself and when not? This article will help you make the right choice for your business. Starting a business and financial issues. Economic ups and downs bring complexity and challenges to people's life. At the same time, people are increasingly aware of their opportunities and many are starting businesses right now with a desire to create greater freedom and additional income for themselves. Let us make the complicated simple. So, starting a business in Estonia has become easier every year. Currently, all you need is 265.010 euros, an ID card, and about 20 minutes. But once the decision to become an entrepreneur is made, there is always another important issue involved: finances and accounting. Practical experiences why professional help is important. One of the authors of the article, Irene, started her own company after 25 years of paid employment in specialist and management roles in 4 fields and 10 companies. Despite her work experience, she admits that the financial world was a completely different universe for her as a starting small entrepreneur. I thought accounting was mainly about issuing invoices and paying taxes, but in reality, it was much more complicated. That is why I decided to take a professional, experienced financial partner by my side right from the start. Without competent financial support, I would have been in trouble countless times. Accountant as a financial partner. From the perspective of a starting entrepreneur, accounting is often primarily about issuing sales invoices and receiving purchase invoices. For an accountant, however, it is about understanding the client's business and the reasons for the movement of money and correctly reflecting all of this in accordance with requirements, rules, and laws. Help with starting a business. An expert accountant can help you even when starting a business. Advises on legal form choices, explain practical issues related to the statute, provides recommendations on the size of the share capital. For example, if an entrepreneur has chosen to form a mandatory reserve capital upon establishment, then the portion of the profit fixed in the articles of association will go into the reserve capital and a smaller amount can be paid out as dividends. Daily counseling. Jekaterina explains that an accountant is primarily a financial partner for managers. For example, an accountant helps calculate and plan people's workload, helps develop principles for compensating for home office expenses in the case of hybrid work, and advises on tax issues. As service providers, we believe that it is important to build a relationship of trust with our client so that they know they can get help and advice with any questions or ideas they may have. We are there to help entrepreneurs prevent mistakes and misunderstanding. You just have to be brave enough to ask. Professional specialization and more complex areas. A good accountant can identify the company's opportunities and risk and knows when to ask for help from a lawyer or tax expert. In offices where, in addition to accounting, there is also a lawyer and a financial advisor, certain issues can be resolved more quickly. Investment companies. The number of companies that, in addition to their core business, engage in securities or other investments is growing. Making entries related to the investment may not be easy. A recent amendment to the VAT Act made it more difficult to identify the VAT registration of such companies. For a company that deals with investment, it is important that the accountant is familiar with the relevant principles. Since accountants specialize in different areas, it is important to also look into experience when choosing a service provider. What to do when to do accounting independently. Small businesses with simpler transactions. If the company's turnover is less than 40,000 euros per year, the company is not subject to VAT and the transactions are simple. The entrepreneur can handle the accounting independently using simpler software such as e-invoice. It is also possible for a non-accountant to prepare and submit an annual report. It should be noted that it is necessary to acquire a basic understanding of accounting, including understanding the conditions under which income or social tax must be paid or expenses. Potential savings approximately 100 to 300 euros per year. Growing volumes. If the company's volume grow but transaction remains simple, the entrepreneur can continue independently. It is possible to outsource assistance from an accountant in making certain entries or preparing an annual report. Depending on the volume, a micro entrepreneur who does their own accounting may spend about 2 hours per month on accounting. For example, it may take an entrepreneur almost 2 hours to enter 40 to 60 purchase invoices or an hour to understand the rules for compensating expenses relating to a home office. Warning examples of errors. It is further highlighted that typical mistakes an entrepreneur who do their own accounting, claiming input VAT refunds on expenses for which VAT cannot actually be claimed, representative expenses, business trip accommodation, failure to pay taxes due to ignorance, gift special benefits. Worst case scenario, the entrepreneur charge very large amounts of input VAT on the cost of property renovations, even though the property was on long-term lease, that is generating tax-free turnover. The result was a tax liability of several thousand, including interest. Although the entrepreneur thought he would save a few hundred euros per month, the result was a tax liability of several thousand. Working with a competent accountant would have helped prevent such a costly mistake. Self-employed accounting checklist. Explain accounting principles, balance sheet, income statement, difference between fixed assets, inventories, and expenses. Understand the rules for taxing expenses with income tax, including reading the relevant information on emta.ee. Learn about the principles of VAT accounting and monitor the threshold for VAT registration. As a VAT payer, be sure to learn the rules for deducting input VAT. If in doubt, consult a specialist. Prevention is always better than fixing mistakes afterwards. How to choose a good accountant? Exploring the experience. Find out if the accountant has experience in the company's industry and with companies with a similar business model. For resellers with inventory, distance selling, real estate rental, securities investment, cryptocurrencies. Communication and feedback. Communicate with the accountant to understand the suitability of his communication style. Find out feedback from others about the accountant. Individual accountant versus collaboration with an office. Consider whether to establish cooperation with an individual accountant or an accounting firm, where there is always a replacement for an accountant. Things don't stop for vacations or other reasons. If necessary, assistance is available in legal, tax, or financial management matters. In addition to accounting services, which offers training services, has needed advice on both financial management and legal issues. The life of an entrepreneur brings many complexities regarding customers, partners, and financial issues that cannot even be foreseen at the beginning. So, summary. When choosing an entrepreneur path, the focus should be on the growth of the company and increasing sales revenue. Everything else can be brought in. Accounting is one of the pillars of the company and, if necessary, also an advisor and like minded person. Reliability is a key factor. For me, it was not important to find the cheapest service provider, but a competent and responsible partner, explains Irene, explaining her choice of a financial partner. Your time is money. If you try to do everything yourself, you will take time away from your core service and the risk making costly mistakes. That is why we recommend to all startup entrepreneurs don't view an accountant as an expense, View them as an investment in your peace of mind and the success of your business. So this is quite a relevant and an important article about accounting. One more thing which I want to mention, on this particular not-for-profit platform, I'll be doing accounting classes where I'll be providing you complete like accounting concept principles, which are totally and directly relevant to maybe preparing your annual report, doing your bookkeeping, maintaining your accounting records, account receivable, accounts payable, taxation, reporting, regulatory reporting, compliance, ESG reporting. So look forward to further videos on this particular platform. All those particular information will be provided to you, which is a like accredited, valid, like verified information. I'll be using the EMTA website, the government websites, the Estonian Business Registry, where they speak about how to prepare an annual report. So all that information which comes directly from the government sources, from their websites, I'll be basically like explaining you, walking you through the entire process. So you can use this particular platform again as a educational medium if you want to do your own accounting, or if you want to take the services at a zero cost from this particular platform, which is a not-for-profit platform to help Estonian small businesses and Estonian MTUs. Thank you for your time in viewing this particular informative video. I hope you liked it. Aita.